Hi, I'm Ben Stewart. I'm the founder and owner of SpeechWire Tournament Services, and I'm happy that you're watching this video in order to learn more about asynchronous, generally speech tournaments on SpeechWire. I'm going to do everything that I can to pass on information about how to run asynchronous speech tournaments on SpeechWire. I think that you'll find, hopefully, that it's not an overly complex process, and if you've run in-person tournaments on SpeechWire before, that it's actually fairly similar in many ways, and in some ways simpler than running an in-person tournament on SpeechWire. I'm going to start, though, by talking about what it's like to register for an asynchronous speech tournament on SpeechWire, because I sense there may be some folks who are watching this video wondering, how do I register for this contest? And the managers probably want to know this too. So I will start by talking about that, but then I will go into what it's like to manage one of these, including setting it up and then making sure that your videos are going to work the way that you want them to for the judges to be able to watch them. So let me go ahead and bring up my SpeechWire window. Like I said, I'm going to start by talking about how you actually register for an asynchronous tournament. Let me also, just before I begin that, I just want to talk a little bit about conceptually what the asynchronous tournament is. Asynchronous versus synchronous when it comes to tournaments. Asynchronous tournaments are tournaments in which judges are watching pre-recorded performances by students. Synchronous tournaments are tournaments where students are performing in front of their camera live, and then judges are watching that live performance on some platform. In this video, we're talking just about the prior, which would be the asynchronous tournaments where judges are watching pre-recorded speeches. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, I will talk about how to register for an asynchronous tournament. If your team has been invited to an asynchronous tournament and you want to attend, you just click on Tournament Registration, and then you click on the tournament that you want to register for in that list, just like you were registering for an in-person tournament. And then you're going to start by saying, yes, my team is going to attend virtually this tournament, and then you would use Update Your Entries to go ahead and put in your students' names in each of the events. That's the same as registering for a live in-person tournament. There's a new button here, though, and that button says Video Links. So you go ahead and click on that button, and then this is going to be where you're able to put in your video links for each of your entries. You'll see that, well, I've got some New York Times and CNN links there. Don't do that. Actually put in a video address because we really want the student's video to appear, not some other website. That was just me testing. But you can certainly put in those video addresses for each of your students. And then you'll notice here that for extemporaneous speaking and impromptu speaking, it's actually asking me for multiple video URLs, and it's showing me which round each of those video URLs is going to be used in. So in this case, this tournament has said we're going to have a different video for each round for those events. Since they're limited prep events, probably this tournament's not going to do a limited prep right before the round. Probably this is a case where they might be doing something like sending out prompts the day before the tournament or 48 hours before the tournament and saying these are the prompts for round 1, these are the prompts for round 2, these are the prompts for round 3, and then the students have to record a different speech for each of those rounds. Most of these are YouTube links. If you are uploading a performance to YouTube, I absolutely encourage you to comply with copyright. If it's non-original work, obviously if it's the student's original work, that doesn't apply, as long as they're okay with it being posted. You could even make those videos public, as long as, again, the student is consenting to having that performance be public, and it's in compliance with all other local, state, and federal regulations. There are some allowances, from what I understand as a non-lawyer, for adjudicators to be able to assess a video of non-original content. But again, I say to you and I implore you to adhere to all copyright law to the absolute best extent that you can. What are some good ideas with that? As you're uploading these videos, or as your students are uploading these videos, upload them to as private a place as possible. A YouTube unlisted link is pretty private, but not as private perhaps as a school Google Drive. Or if there are some other things that the tournament manager has asked you to do, you can certainly go ahead and do those. But absolutely comply with copyright law as you're doing this. And to that end, after the tournament, you might just want to go ahead and delete the video or have the student delete the video before they upload their new video for perhaps an upcoming contest in a few weeks. But videos are never uploaded to SpeechWire. SpeechWire does not store your students' performances. They have to be uploaded to another place. Google Drive is very commonly used. YouTube unlisted links have also been used. Just be careful with regard to copyright. We don't want to be infringing in any way. We just want to be able to make sure that the adjudicators are able to assess the video for the tournament. So those videos get uploaded. You either are uploading them or your students are, and you're collecting those links and going ahead and putting them in on this page. So, and again, those videos are not going to be served publicly. I should make this clear. Those videos are only going to be served to the judges who are watching these performances. They're not going to be put up on public schematics. They're not going to be linked somewhere that anybody on the internet is able to go look at them. These are being served narrowly to the judges who are going to be assessing the performances. So upload them before the contest, hopefully not too far before the contest, and then if possible, delete them after the contest, unless the student just wants their original work to be available perpetually. That's their call. If they're super proud of it, go for it. That's certainly up to them. So that is registering for an asynchronous tournament on SpeechWire. Those of you who are not managers, you can check out at this point. I'm now just going to be talking to managers of asynchronous tournaments. So I'm going to go ahead and log in. That is not the tournament I wanted to log into. We're going to go ahead and log into an asynchronous tournament. And once we log into this asynchronous tournament, it's you'll see that the homepage of SpeechWire looks basically exactly the same as always. So there's really no difference in this, and setting up the tournament using the setup wizard was also pretty much exactly the same as always. This is what that page looks like here. Sorry for not putting it up immediately. So I'm on my tournament management page. We're assuming at this point the registration has gone on. Teams have registered their entries for the tournament. I've only got my test team in this tournament because that's all we need. And at this point, we are ready to schedule. I do want to go over a little bit what it's like to configure the control panel for this tournament. So this would be something that you would do before you open registration. You do that through this control panel link. It's also part of the setup wizard. So you may encounter it that way, or you may need to go back in and change some of the configuration after you complete initial setup. So if you need to do that, go ahead to control panel and then click on e-balloting and video settings. That's the new link that helps you manage your online tournament. So if we look here at the basic electronic tournament controls, currently says that I'm running this on asynchronous, which we certainly need to in order to do this approach. And then also you need to say, do you want to use e-ballots at your tournament? That should absolutely be set to yes for as long as we're doing things like virtual tournaments. There's a few other options here that are frequently set to yes. They are not 100% required to be set to yes, but they're very frequently set to yes. And then you've got some information down here about how you can configure your speech e-ballot, including a point range if you're using speaker points, and some other options too. There's another button here that says Configure Asynchronous Groupings. This is specific to the asynchronous tournament approach. And if you go ahead and click on that, you're going to see that you can determine how many video URLs you want to collect for each of your events. So like we saw in registration, extemporaneous speaking for this tournament is collecting 3 URLs, and impromptu is collecting 2 URLs. So this is something you can determine for each of your events, and then that will guide how many spaces for each entry the registering coaches are able to put in. The lower part of the page is where you tell SpeechWire which of the videos is going to be used for each round. So this is a tournament with 2 prelim rounds and 1 final round. And it's saying that we're going to use video number 1 from Extemp for round 1, video number 2 for round 2, and video number 3 for the final round. For impromptu, we're using video number 1 for round 1, video number 2 for round 2, and then we're going back to video number 1 for the final, and that's absolutely fine. And for the other events, we're just using the same performance for all 3 rounds. So that's how you configure your electronic tournament for an asynchronous tournament. Now, like I said, we've got entries in this tournament, and we are assuming that at this point we're ready to go ahead and schedule the tournament. So you go ahead and you click on Scheduling Manager. You can click on Set Section Structure. I've only got entries in a few events in this tournament, but you would of course be able to just go ahead and set your section structure just like you would for an in-person tournament, telling SpeechWire how many sections you're going to have in each event. One thing you don't have to do with an asynchronous tournament is do anything with rooms. We can just completely ignore rooms. None of our schematics are going to have a room on them. Because we're asynchronous, we just don't have to worry about it. So now I'm going to go ahead and say schedule competition groupings. I'm only going to schedule one event because I just want to demonstrate what it's like to go ahead and release e-ballots. You would schedule all of your events most likely at this point, or you could schedule by pattern, or you could schedule by round, entirely up to you. You also would be able to auto-assign judges, just like you normally would for an in-person tournament by using the auto-assign judges tool. I'm going to go ahead and just look at my schematic and make sure that my test judge is the one judging this round. So I'm going to click Assign a Judge to this section, and I'm going to assign myself as the judge. So this schematic's ready to go. We've got a judge assigned, we've got students, they're all from the same school, but in your case, they probably wouldn't be, and we are ready to launch this round. I'll go back to the home page, and then I'm going to click Posting Center. And then at Posting Center, I'm going to say Release, Post, and Blast Rounds. If we'd scheduled more than one event, we'd have more than one Go button, but you basically just click the Go button, and that immediately launches the round. So what that does is it releases the electronic ballots to the judges, it posts the schematic, it blasts email and or text messages to your judges and your students, letting them know that this round is now live. So this round is now going, and judges are now able to judge that round. Let's go ahead and take a look at what that looks like. So we're going to switch over to live.speechwire.com. That is the address that judges go to in order to judge. Again, that's live.speechwire.com. And you'll notice that there's a forgot password button here too, just in case a judge needs to reset their password before they start judging. One thing I want to note, this is common to every electronic tournament, and even in-person tournaments for that matter. If you have judges who are saying that they don't have a SpeechWire account, you can go to Judges and then click on View Judge Dashboard. And if there were more judges here, you would notice that it shows the email address for that judge. And then this person says linked. That means that they currently have a functional SpeechWire account that they can judge on. And if they don't know their password, they can just reset their password. If there was a link button here, you just click the link button, and that will then activate their account and email them a password that they can use to judge at live.speechwire.com. So we'll go back to live.speechwire.com. I'm going to log into my judge account. Here's my ballot that I was just released. So I'll go ahead and click on that ballot to open it. If you hadn't judged any rounds at this tournament yet, it's going to collect a cell phone number for you. That's in case the tournament needs to reach you because they have a question about your ballot. But otherwise, you just go ahead and say, click here to start the round. And at this point now, I've got links for my comments for each of the students, and I've also got a place to put in rank and points for each of the students as well. I need now to watch the videos for these students, of course. So I'm going to go ahead and click Edit Comments, which opens up the comments field for this student. And then there's also a link here to click here to play the video for this entry. So all you have to do as the judge is just go ahead and click on that, and that's going to bring up that performance. Hopefully the performance of the student does not let you down. Okay, so we go back here and you can go ahead and put in your comments for that student, put in your performance time for the student, and save your comments. Of course, once you've watched all the videos, you go ahead back to the ballot and you can put in the rank and the points. One thing I will mention about electronic ballots is that after the rank and the points are put in, they cannot be changed. However, the judge can go back in for as long as you leave the e-ballots up, and they can put in more comments for the students. So the rank and the points can go in before they finish all the comments for all of the students. The last thing that I want to note is that you can monitor the status of all of your ballots using the Balloting Status button on the home page. If you go ahead and click on this and select a time slot to view, and it would actually pop up the current time slot if your tournament was going on, but my test tournament isn't. You can then see what the status of this ballot is. As you can see, it's rather early in the morning right now where I am, but you've got this round ongoing super early in the morning, very early start time for it, because the judge can basically watch these at any point they want during the period when you have released all of these ballots. So this would show you all of the rounds that are going on at this time, so you can see which rounds have started. If I go ahead and put in my ranks and points, I don't even know what the point scale is here. I think it's 1 to 100. So we'll do 299, 398, 490, and 550. Not the best performance. We've now got my ranks submitted, and if I look back here at my balloting status page, this thing is updating by itself. We'll see if it sort of updates in the timely fashion that I'm looking for, or if I have to hit refresh. Looks like I caught this at exactly the wrong time. I may have to hit refresh. Now, there we go, it updated. So it now says in and has turned to a deeper shade of green. So that tells me that this judge has put in their ranks and their points for this round, and it lets me know that that round is over. One thing with asynchronous tournaments that's kind of neat is that you're not really tied to a traditional tournament schedule unless you want to be. You certainly can be if you want to. You can say to the judges, we're going to release the e-ballots at 7 a.m. and we're going to close them up at 3 p.m. and that's the way it is. You have to judge in that window. Or you can say we're going to release them Thursday at 5 p.m. and we're going to close prelims on Saturday at noon, and then we're going to open up finals Saturday at 1, and then you can judge finals anytime before 6. You can basically come up with any schedule that you want to. Because it's asynchronous, you're not tied to the usual everybody gets their rounds in just on Saturday. Again, unless you want to be. You can be if you want. One of the benefits to stretching that out further, though, is that if there are problems with judges' accounts, if there are problems with the videos, the longer that you have to judge prelims, the more time that you have to go ahead and get those problems straightened out, and the more chance that you're not going to be panicked right at the end as you're trying to figure out what's going on. So you have a lot of tools at your disposal to track your tournament. You have a lot of ways to make sure that things are going well. And you have lots of tools to go ahead and replace judges and so on, but I'm not going to go into that on this video. You can look at the SpeechWire user's manual in order to do that, or you can email support@speechwire.com. If you have any questions, I'll certainly do everything that I can to help you. So I appreciate your interest in running asynchronous tournaments on my platform. I hope that you have a good start to your season. I hope that your students have a good experience. Even if we're not doing live tournaments, even if we're not in person, I think that hopefully these tools will still be able to perform the educational purpose of this activity for your students, and I hope that these tools are useful to you as a manager. Thanks again for your time with this video, and as always, glad to be working with you on your tournament on SpeechWire. Thanks.